Welcome to the Mindset Mirror Connection podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how your excessive training may be the thing that's holding you back. We're going to be talking about what is excessive training, how it affects the body, and signs that you are overtraining. So if you're ready, I want you to listen up and lean in as we elevate your mind.
Ding, ding, ding. This was me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Hi, it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Okay. Correction connection.
Yeah. What happened?
Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang does not sing All Day I Dream About Sex. It's corn.
That's like totally opposite.
Like K-O-R-N. Corn. So my dog Brooklyn is 15. You guys have met her butt and some of her face on YouTube.
She's
and
a
her
typical Instagram influencer.
Yeah. She's totally. She's like, look at my butt and my face.
Yeah. Watch my overhead press.
Yeah, right. Exactly. She's 15, and as she's gotten older, her dreams have become literal convulsions.
What?
Like she will shake the entire bed. And she's 60 pounds, so it's not like a chihuahua.
You guys are just waking up.
Oh, I wake up 4 or 5 times a night. So I finally take her to the vet for something else. And I'm like, hey, is there something we can give her? She's like, yeah, we'll give
drugs.
her drugs, gabapentin. And I'm looking at it, it's for seizures. I'm like, sweet. So she tells me, she says, hey, you need to give it to her often so she can get used to it, but she's going to be off for a couple days. Okay. So I'm like, okay, Mark's out of town. Was out of town. And so I'm giving it to her. I gave it to her at night. Fine. Woke up the next day, gave it to her around noon. And then I'm talking to my girlfriend, Rachel, and Brookie's outside going pee. And then she comes in and I see her butt is, her back legs aren't working. Now, you guys, she already has like mad hip issues because again, she's 15. So I look outside and she's like, her back legs are falling. And I'm like, interesting. So I let her in and she can't walk. So I'm on the phone and I'm like, hey, I got to go. And she goes to get water and she can't stand up. She cannot. And I'm like, I put a towel underneath her hind legs and trying to hold her up. And I'm like,
wheelbarrow her.
Yes. And she's just like, no, she's scared.
Yeah.
So I pick her up, put her on the bed. Also a reason you should strength train. I've learned that this week. We'll get back to that point. That's for you to remember. So I call the vet and they're like, oh yeah, that's a side effect of her drugs. Maybe. I'm like,
that would have been good to know, especially considering that my dog already has.
Yes.
Back
I'm already, I thought it was game over at that point. I'm like, oh, this is how she goes out. Her legs go paralyzed and I'm by myself. I text my best friend, Dustin. I was like, what are you doing tonight? Do you want to go to the ER? So I know I'm laughing about this, but I was freaking the fuck out. So hold on, microphone movement. So I'm like, okay, I'll just chill with her.
Did Dustin come over?
No,
oh, okay.
I like text him and then I didn't text him back because I was like freaking out. So I took everything because I was working at the time. I took my laptop, my second screen, everything in the bedroom. And then her sister came in and we just laid in bed with her. And now she's fine. Her dreams have been great. But yeah, it was like your microphone slowly falling down. It was so scary. I was like, this is
Did you
how
ever
she
watch
does.
that show Alex Mack?
No.
Do you remember that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, they used to, I don't even remember. I wish I could find it or something. It was on Nickelodeon. And they would turn into like goo and melt away.
Oh, nice. I wish I could do that sometimes. But the string training thing. So I wish I had a camera just following me around because reality show producers, I'm available.
Yeah.
So
Keeping Up with the Hathaway.
yeah. What do we used to call it? I used to have a hashtag when we started dating, Adventures with Hathaway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there's a hashtag and it's just all of our dating. Yeah.
That's cute.
I know. Look it up.
Wait, so why is it important to strength train during this event?
I had to pick her up.
Yeah.
And then also
how much does she weigh?
60 pounds.
That's pretty
right.
Yeah.
And she's like
dog
dead weight. Then took her to the vet prior to that. And obviously she can't jump in or out.
Right.
And we're getting stairs, but also she's kind of afraid. They have to be really wide and sturdy, which I don't know if that exists. At least it doesn't on Amazon. So, picking her up, putting her in, and just, I was thinking, wow, like this is one of those things where I'm glad that I am strong to pick up my little old dog. We love her. So Brooklyn is 15. Harlem is 10. They're my babies.
Did you get Brooklyn before you met Mark?
I did.
Yeah. What about Harlem?
No, we got her together. So I was dating this guy, which we'll talk about in the dating episode. And we got a dog together.
Oh.
However, he was a piece.
Yeah.
And I paid for everything.
Of course.
So I paid for her.
Yeah.
And yeah. And I'm like, and then we broke up. I'm like, I paid for her. Ha ha ha.
Yeah.
And I took her. So I got her when I was like,
you probably cared for her more, right?
Yeah. I mean, equally.
Actually,
he more trained her.
Okay.
She was a really good dog.
I was gonna say, that explains.
Yeah,
that.
no, she used to be really. She used to listen really well. Now she was just like, I'm old. I don't give a fuck. Like,
can she hear? Maybe it's a hearing issue.
She's selective.
Okay.
She can hear those guys talk out. So you guys, my neighbors. So we live on a mountain. So why that's important is that our neighbors were on a downslope, so we can see into our neighbor's yard. So I have
a question.
Okay.
Because Michael thinks this is so weird. Go ahead.
Okay. So we have a brick wall and then these wooden slates. But between the brick wall and the wooden slates, there's this little, probably like 2-inch crack where Harlem, who's a beagle mix, can put her little nose in and they feed her. But Brookie, she can't stand on her hind legs. So she just barks. But she can hear them. She's like, hey, here, bark, bark. Give me a treat.
Okay, so hang on. Here's my question. Do you look into your neighbors?
No.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
See, so
have you seen my neighbors?
Yeah, but I wonder if this was like a childhood thing, because I used to look into my neighbors' yards growing up. And then what was it? Months ago or weeks ago. So our next door neighbors, there was a really weird, it sounded like a slam ball was being thrown against the wall, like over and over and over. And I was like, what is that? And Michael's like, what is that? And I was like, I think she's working out, because I would hear her. And I think she lives with her parents, because the two people I know that live there are older. And then sometimes I see a daughter there, and I'm not sure if she actually lives there or she's sometimes there or whatever. And I was like, I think she's working out, because I would hear her like grunt and stuff. And he's like, I don't think so. And I was like, well, let's look. And he was like, fuck no. Like, who does that? And I was like, you've never looked over your neighbor's wall? He goes, no. Like, you don't look over your neighbor's wall. I was like, oh, I did it all the time.
I don't remember. So as a kiddo, we lived on a half an acre.
Oh, so you didn't really have a wall to look over.
We did, actually. But it was funny because we were on a half an acre, and then there was two houses to our one house yard. And there was, I don't know, there was a really mean dog in the house in the back. I remember because my mom used to babysit, and this kid, Michael, went and not related to your Michael, grabbed, a ball went over. So he like put his leg in the dog, and he's like, wow. I was like, so
that was the end of that.
Yeah. Story. So we didn't look, I don't remember looking in my neighbor's yards. Yeah.
Well,
creepo.
I know, apparently.
Creepo leak. So yeah, so we did corrections. I think that was the only one.
That's good.
Yeah.
We're improving.
We are.
We're improving.
I think so.
And you know what? So I was listening to a different podcast earlier this week, and you could tell they were fiddling with their microphone. I was like, yes.
Oh my gosh.
It's okay.
Yes.
But yes, other people do it.
Yeah. Well, I was watching what you don't watch this. Watch What Happens Live, which is
with Andy Cohen.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Okay. She's got it, guys. I'm slowly brainwashing her. And one of the girls, her mic was right on her collar.
Oh, no.
And her earring was like this. And I go, that's her microphone, Mark. And he's like, okay. Producer. Speaking of, we're going to get so out of line with this.
I promise
what are you
we
watching?
Have a topic today.
Yeah. What are you watching right now?
Okay. So we just finished Fallout.
Okay.
It's interesting. And then we started watching Shogun.
Okay.
but I've been watching Grey's Anatomy
Oh yeah,
continuously.
you told me that.
Even though it's
What's
the worst
Fallout
show I've
about?
ever seen. Fallout was interesting. So Michael, I guess it's a video game that was turned
That
into a
sounds like
TV
it.
show.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was like, do you want to watch it? And I was like, sure. Because sometimes hit and miss with shows, right?
Mhm.
Especially when you can watch them with your partner.
Yeah.
Like finding a show, it's like, oh my gosh.
My husband introduced me to Bravo, by the way, ladies.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
I know.
That's
I know.
okay.
That's how I'm obsessed.
Yes.
My husband.
So no, my lover would never watch Bravo. He'd rather, I don't even know. I think he'd rather take a shower. It's both of those. Shower. There's context behind that.
Everyone's like, what?
I know.
Isn't this a fitness podcast?
Yeah. That's a therapy session in itself. Literally a figurative.
Just I'm gonna go in the garage.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna watch this all the time.
So anyway, it's about
Oh man.
I don't it's like
Right.
it's post like a nuclear apocalypse kind of story, interestingly enough. So there's different kind of camps and people that have developed over time.
Yeah.
And so it's essentially about like this girl, they call them the oh shit, I don't even remember. They live underground in like this harmonious like group collective, like a culty kind of thing.
Interesting.
And so they don't really know like, oh, the above ground is like this untantalized, like this untouched thing. And so anyway, she has to go above ground for this adventure. And then it turns out like there is a societies that are happening above ground. And it's just, it's very sci-fi, which I'm not usually into. And I'm not usually into like a hero's journey type story. But it was interesting enough where like they did a really good job with the cast and characters and making them different enough where I was like, oh, okay, I'll follow this. And I mean, it was like 8 episodes, maybe 10.
Oh, that's not bad.
So 8 hours.
I used to watch The Walking Dead
religiously. Yes, so did
and then
we.
it got weird.
Well, then it gets like, how many zombies are we gonna kill?
That's what I was like, okay, at a certain point,
like,
you know how like you get zombified.
I know.
Like you've
Well,
got to kill
like-
them all, right? They're
well,
not like
also-
having babies, zombies,
uh-uh.
like reproducing.
Well, and like, why haven't we like just stopped moving and set up like a land and like learned how to garden and stuff? Because there's enough.
They did that.
Well, but then didn't it get destroyed
I don't
somehow?
know. I
don't
stopped
know.
watching. So
Okay,
I binge
anyway.
watched yesterday, Baby Reindeer. So
I've never heard of that.
it just came out
On what?
Netflix.
Okay, that's
It was not a hero's tale, and that made me I got so uncomfortable, you guys. Okay,
Really?
storyline. This comedian, he's not really, he's like trying to be, what would you call that? Like a starving artist. He is that what that term means?
yeah. Like
Okay.
you're just trying to make it.
Trying to make it. Yeah. So he's a bartender.
Okay.
This woman walks in and she's like upset, and he says, what can I get you?
Uh-huh.
She said, I don't have any money. And so he's like, do you want to go? This is in England, in London.
Okay.
Do you want a cup of tea? I can't afford it. It's on the house. And she just starts being infatuated with him. And she has this whole story how she's this lawyer and she's been a lawyer for all these different people. And he's just like, but you
don't have any
can't.
money. For
Correct.
tea?
So she'll come in and be like, I don't have a lot of time, but then stay there the whole shift. And then long story short, she ends up being this like crazy stalker.
Shocking.
However, the storyline was intense. If you, trigger warning, have any sort of, I want to say, if you've not dealt with any of your own sexual abuse, do not, absolutely not watch this movie.
Really?
Correct. Oh, there's a whole scene, a couple scenes that are, I was like, I'm uncomfortable right now. And then I don't know what it is about me. I don't know if it's because I'm a therapist and I am so empathetic to other people. Like if I watch certain shows, it makes me, I'm talking about it right now and I'm uncomfortable with like, not just that part of it, but even his discomfort in it.
Yeah.
I get so
Like he did a good job of portraying it.
yeah, I'm like,
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
so uncomfortable right. I kept
Uh-huh.
telling Mark, he's like, me too. And then it didn't have like a happy ending.
Of course.
And I was like, now I'm like distraught about it. I need to make my own ending.
It's on Netflix and each episode's a different one.
Oh, Black Mirror?
Mirror, did you ever watch that?
Dude. Okay, let's talk about that. The first episode
Oh, that was
couldn't get past it.
I tell people, I go,
Do not watch
skip
it.
the first episode, or just realize the first episode is what it is.
I
and keep going.
Same thing. Can't get past it. It scarred my brain.
Yeah, that was terrible.
No, terrible.
Yeah.
Don't watch that either. Everyone's
Well,
like,
I really loved Black Mirror.
well, yeah, people talk about it after. I can't
That,
put my brain
yeah,
under.
the season 1, episode 1, it was like, damn.
I want to vomit thinking
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
Blech. Anyway, so Baby Reindeer makes me uncomfortable. There's a lot of things like that. Or
Requiem for a Dream. That was, have you ever seen that movie?
Mm-mm.
Requiem for a Dream.
Mm-mm.
That's a movie you watch once and you're like, I can't ever watch this again.
Well, there's just certain things like that. I tried to watch like the Epstein thing, and I was like,
I don't, yeah. See, some of that stuff, like, obviously I don't support Epstein, but it's also like,
Thank you for clarifying that.
just need to make sure that's on paper and in the wild. But it's like sometimes like I don't want to watch it because it's just so like gut wrenching that people are put in these positions.
Oh yeah,
and I think because Black Mirror, there is a sci-fi aspect to it. You can kind of be like, okay, whereas like Epstein is a real thing. I'm like, this is
and the Baby Reindeer is a true story.
It's a true story.
True story. She like, yeah, it's crazy.
I wish we had Netflix. I would watch it.
Yeah,
I need to just pay for it.
It's intense.
I know.
I'd give you my login, but apparently that's
you can't. That's why because that's why we don't have it anymore, because we're millennials and we use all of our parents' stuff.
Yeah.
And now his mom must be watching something on Netflix, because anytime she's watching something, I can't get on it. But then if she stops watching whatever she's watching, I can get on it. So I'm like, God damn it, Teresa. Like,
yeah. Can we tell everyone about your shirt?
Yeah.
So
Pitbull.
Dale.
One time my girlfriend took me to a Pitbull concert and it said Dale on the shirt. I got a t-shirt and she goes, so who's Dale? It's Dale. She's like, what is that? I'm like, it's like, let's go.
Would you like to express your love?
Oh, I love him. So yeah, I was on Spotify today listening to a podcast. And then because they have like concert alerts now. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So if you like follow certain people, it'll say like,
cool.
yeah. So it said, Pitbull is coming near you. And I was like, no, Pitbull just came near me. And like, of course he's not coming again. So then I looked and Pitbull's coming in October with T-Pain.
Ooh.
I know.
I'll go to that.
You want to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude.
I'll buy
Okay.
tickets.
Also
it's on Friday, October 4th.
I don't think I might be in Greece.
Oh,
I know.
Well, I'll get 2 tickets and if you can't go, I'll find somebody else.
Okay. Also, so I was watching the YouTube, pretty sure a piece of lettuce in my teeth on this tooth. I was like, I don't have a gap in that tooth. And I'm looking at it like, and then I remember like flossing that night. I'm like, wow, that's a big
And that's why we eat only processed food now.
Yeah, right. That's why I just drank my Fairlife shake. That shit's so good.
I've never had
you guys. If you have a hard time getting protein in, which hopefully will help you with that, but or the chocolate milk, or you just want something sweet, it's ultra processed. Mark actually sent me a video on how it's processed.
Oh no,
there's no, it's a good thing.
Oh,
there's no whey added to it. They basically just take the protein out and do some shit. That was so delicious. So that's all I had today. Was I had my breakfast earlier, but there was no lettuce in it. So that was, I was like, what is wrong with my tooth?
See, so I'm trying to get better at, since we're trying to capture like segments to post, I realized this week, because I was like, oh, okay, yeah, well, of course I can contribute to that. So I would listen and then I would start listening in the car. And I was like, I can't do that.
I listen during my workouts.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah. And I put it on my TV in there.
Okay.
And then I stop it.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm like trying to figure, so I was like, oh, I can't do that. So I was like, I got to figure out when I'm going to listen. And it has to, like, either on a walk would be good for me, or like if I'm prepping or something.
Yeah.
Because
we're talking about like, we're trying to do reels and little cuts of what so we can put it out there in the world. But yeah, Fairlife. Okay. Shake. I don't know how you went from chocolate milk to reels
and whatever
and lettuce in the teeth, but okay.
Whatever. Should we talk about today's topic?
Sure. Okay. Anyway, so I think that's the hibbity bobbity. Anything else?
Nah.
All right. Well, today we're talking about overtraining, or just that, abusive, punishing, gotta do everything training. And honestly, how that's kind of fucking your shit up.
Yeah.
Do you know we cuss a lot on here too? I love
that's
it.
Okay.
It says explicit.
Does it?
Like we're NWA. So excessive training, ruining your progress. So let's talk about the client that walks in who's the excessive overtrainer.
They don't know they are.
Correct.
Yes.
Why don't they know they are?
Because
Tell them, everyone.
they
Tell them, Amanda.
they love the feeling of beating themselves. They think that's what gets them the results they're looking for. And they think doing more is just what the piece that they're missing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oftentimes, so let's just talk about what their day looks like.
Or they're trying to avoid a feeling, a place, an emotion.
Oh, yeah. Well,
any of that.
Oh, yeah. That's an underlying for sure. So normal overtrainer is someone who works out every single day of the week. For some of them, I would say they maybe do like a 6 to 7 day split of some sort, and then also cardio on top of that. For most that I see, it's usually, I do this program for 4 days a week, and then I go to this HIIT class, and then I go to this class, and then I run. So it's just stacking. And they walk into our program or on our clarity calls and say, I don't understand. I work out all the time. I'd like to see my progress.
Yes.
So I'd like to look like I work out all the time. I'd like to, see what's underneath, or whatever. So they oftentimes they are very baffled by the fact that they are doing all of this work and seeing no results. Like, I know I'm strong. I know I'm but nothing.
What's funny is and this is okay. I shouldn't say they. When I was in this place, I thought I was strong, but in comparison to what I can do now, I really wasn't. Like, relatively speaking, I was strong, but I thought I was strong. And now I realize, like, today I'm much stronger doing a fraction of what I do.
Right.
And so you think that you're always on that edge of like, it's going to turn this corner. It's going to turn this corner. I just got to go the next day. And I would do that too. So it depended on what I was doing for workout wise. But if like, say you called me and you're like, hey, do you want to go to Core Power with me on Saturday? I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. But then later I would say, well, I still have to do
I was looking at going back.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They have like a 5-class pack. Or you can do class pass.
And they have it?
We'll have to look at it later.
Okay. So I would do that, or like spin, right? And then I would be like, well, I still have to do my lifting session or my CrossFit session or whatever. And so I just always thought like that, just because I did the other activity didn't mean that I could pull back on what I was doing in my own plan either.
For me, I would do, I think I talked about this, like 2 F45 classes 1 hour classes back to back, thinking, more is more. I'm burning I burned 1,100 calories, which you guys don't look at your activity trackers as an accurate indication of how many calories you burned. They're very inaccurate.
I wouldn't, because like I could put my watch on you and it would do your stuff. And it's like, but it doesn't even know it's you.
Right.
So why would it calculate?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
You can put anyone's watch on anyone. Yeah. It's going to just calculate based on whatever, right?
Whatever your wrist is telling you. Yeah.
The problem with when I did that is I'd find myself just gassed for the rest of the day.
But that's because you worked out so hard.
Right. Well, but the problem is you burn more at rest or your non-exercise activity. So non-exercise activity, thermogenesis, is when you're just moving, right? You're not exercising. So you're doing the dishes, or even when you sit and you like shake your foot or whatever. It's all of the activity you do outside of a planned workout. And when you gas yourself in, back-to-back workouts or high intensity workouts that are for a prolonged amount of time and you're not fueling yourself correctly, that's something we'll talk about. Your NEAT just naturally goes down because you're so freaking tired, And honestly, I didn't see a big difference in my outcome.
No, if anything, I was puffier. I don't I wasn't overweight, but I was just more swollen. And I didn't recognize that. Like, I just thought like, oh, it's muscle. But it was like, no, my body was like literally having not allergic reaction, but it was not
it was inflamed.
doing well. Yeah.
Right. But no, and it's that idea that more is more, or more is better when more is more, right? So we wanted to really talk about that today because it is something you see. It's very much even promoted in the culture to do.
Yeah.
And again, especially as you get in your mid 30s, 40s, 50s, that shit doesn't fly.
Right. Well, and I see that too, like on social media of like, you'll see like, you're not weak, you just don't have it, or something. Like they'll promote that, like what you're saying is that push, like you just need to find it in you. You just need to do that. And it's like, okay.
I unfollowed someone.
Well, yeah, you're not talking to the average person.
Right. Like, you're not dedicated enough.
Well, and the person that is dedicated enough is already doing it. And so now they're just looking at your social media as a way to reinforce like, well, I am dedicated enough. Like, obviously I've got that. Like you're influencing your already demographic that's doing it. You're not finding people to get motivated. And then say you do, they're not staying with you because it's not sustainable for the average person who doesn't have that like innate, like self perpetual workout.
Right. What's up, guys? Quick interruption from our show sponsor, the Mindset of Matter Coaching, and an invite to you to our absolutely free webinar mastermind on rewiring your mind, breaking free from compulsive eating and overtraining. In this webinar, you will get access to me, Coach Christina Hathaway, licensed mental health therapist, certified personal trainer, and nutrition coach, to walk you through every single step of the mindset method. But more importantly, you get to share your story. You get to share your struggles, and I get to coach you during this mastermind. And so if this is something you're like, yes, I would love to be coached by Coach Christina, I want you to check out the show notes below for our registration. The webinar will be on May 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I would love as many people as possible to attend. If you do attend live, we also will be giving away a free gift. So it's always a plus for you to be there. Obviously, again, I get to see your face. So again, that's May 16th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Now, back to elevating your mind. Well, it's, the thing about overtraining for me is oftentimes we see people overtraining who are cortisol junkies. Okay. So these are either people who have
cortisol's stress hormone.
Oh, great. Yeah. So cortisol is one of your stress hormones. It's cortisol, which is a corticotropid, I believe, type of hormone. Then you have like norepinephrine, epinephrine. And those are the hormones that increase when your stress response is startled, aka your nervous system, your sympathetic nervous system, and your cortisol goes up. The body, once the threat goes away, cortisol comes back down. So whether it's someone who just let's go with the easy route, right? Someone who's always been in a high intensity job, for example, or someone who's been a high intensity athlete, right? So they've constantly got that like push, or someone who has always been in that stressed place, right? Has always been, whether it's from trauma or not managing emotions or whatever that looks like, they're constantly seeking more of that hit.
Okay.
Right. And they chase after it. Their normal is often this highly stressed state. And so in an effort to feel any sort of like rush, they want to do more and more and more. The problem is that cortisol, right, our cortisol doesn't not necessarily run out. What runs out is the process that happens afterwards. And I'm going to use the word runs out. That's not what happens. So when cortisol enters the body, we have to, our body then provides blood sugar into our bloodstream to give us energy to run, right? Now, in this case, you're technically using that energy, right? But outside of the workout, you're constantly in that stress state. And outside of the workout, if I'm constantly in that stress state and I'm not moving because I'm so gassed, then what happens is we have the blood sugar in the bloodstream.
Okay.
Insulin comes to take that blood sugar and take it to the cellular level. But after all the cells are basically packed with blood sugar, the insulin has nowhere to go.
Okay.
So we're continually producing blood sugar, continually producing insulin, which eventually we become insulin resistant, which can cause a slew of issues from a metabolic standpoint, which again only exacerbates that idea of I'm doing all the stuff and I'm not seeing results. But so that's what happens when we're in a highly stressed state. Then I'm already at this stress place. My insulin is, I'm insulin resistant. Then I add this intense workout on top of that. I'm only exacerbating that
And
process.
I think that stress state before you add in the exercise portion can come from life in general, your home life, your work, your sleep schedule.
Oh yeah, sleep's a big one.
Those all are playing a role in what your cortisol is doing before you've even gotten to the workout point.
Correct.
And so when you get to the workout point, now we're doing a high stress activity or over exercising. You could even say, oh, well, I'm strength training, but going to a 6-day-a-week split and then adding cardio on that is still stressful. Like there's a point where your body's like, this is over what I need to be doing.
Right.
And so now we're adding on top of this already stressed level. So if we're not managing our stress in general, we're stressed. But even stressors happen throughout the day too, like micro stressors. And we all have stress and we all have cortisol.
Stress is actually important.
Yeah. So you're adding and compounding and adding and compounding over time and time and time. Because it's not like, one thing to note is you don't wake up one day and start overtraining.
Right.
It happens over time because now you're starting to get that rush and then that starts to feel good. And then it's being influenced and further compounded and further kind of like depending on your culture that you're walking into too. So like, for example, CrossFit gyms, if everybody's going every day and that's kind of your friends.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Or like F45 or even Orange Theory or think of any group fitness class. Those are your people at some point.
Right.
And if you don't show up today, they're going to, oh, where were you yesterday? Oh my gosh, Brittany did a great class.
Right. And then we'll shame you. For
Yes. Yes.
So
so then you feel like kind of left out too. So there's a social component that is happening that's influencing this rush and you're shutting down your system of feedback essentially of saying like, oh, like I actually don't feel good. And it's okay if the teacher did a great class today because I needed to rest.
Right. You maybe think of the other part of it too, which we talked about, toxic resilience. Overtraining is the toxic resilience of exercise, like thing. You are that high achiever. You've always just had that grit and hustle. And so you put that same effort into your workouts, not realizing like your cups are fucking empty.
Yeah.
Your like you said, your physical cup is empty. Your social cup is empty. Your emotional cup is like everything is emptying and you're thinking, well, I'll just do more to fill it up. And it's like, no, babe, your candle is burnt out.
Right.
And you're not adding any like new wax to it.
Well, and then they're like, why isn't my body making these changes? Like, I feel like my body is just getting like fatter or worse, or look, it's not showing what I'm doing.
Right.
So now I dig my heels in more.
Yeah. So let's talk about signs of overtraining. So you guys can kind of sit back and be like, is this me?
Yeah.
I wanted to say one other thing. Yes, you guys may be thinking, but I thought exercise was a stress relief. I want you to understand something very important. Exercise is a stress relief when the body is safe. Meaning, exercise will help you relieve stress if you're normally living in your parasympathetic nervous system. Exercise is not going to relieve stress if you're constantly living in your sympathetic fight or flight or freeze nervous system. And that's a really important thing to understand.
Yeah.
Where we can use it. I mean, there's so many benefits to it, but also a part of exercise is the rest and recovery portion of it.
Right.
Like you can't have one without the other because as we're talking about, you're not going to see the benefits even from a mental health standpoint. So signs of overtraining, the first one I see is I'm fucking tired all the time.
Tired all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So
like tired all the time in like any time of day.
Oh yeah.
Or, yeah. That's it. Like you wake up, go to the gym, you're tired coming home.
Oh,
mid-afternoon, tired.
Have you ever been, I remember like 3 p.m., like trying to keep my eyes open.
I remember I would wake up, work out. And honestly, if like I could take a nap from like 12 to 4 and still be able to go to bed.
Oh yeah.
In the evening, you know, whereas like today, if I took a nap from 12 to 4, I'd be like, fuck,
I'm up all night.
Like, yeah.
No, just super fatigued, which the fatigue in itself is going to play into the other signs.
Mhm.
So, you're super tired. You're not, able to have the cognitive energy
Yeah.
to do your work.
Yeah.
Another thing with energy itself is you have to also have mental energy.
Mhm.
And one thing I notice with clients is when they're like constantly overtraining, they don't have the mental energy to make great choices in other
Yes.
areas,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So they're so fatigued, they've punished themselves in the gym. Then they get to, 5 p.m. and they're in the pantry and they're just tired from the day. And they've
Mhm.
they depleted their energy cup by 6 a.m.
Uh-huh.
after the CrossFit class and haven't replenished it at any point. So they're just so dead to the world. That's also an
Mhm.
opportunity to emotionally eat, binge eat, or just eat things that are easy. I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I just didn't have the mental, the bandwidth to make a choice.
Right. Or like to prepare ahead of time either. And it's like,
Mhm.
so then what are we doing? You know,
Mhm.
you don't have to go for an hour every day. You just
Mm-mm.
don't.
Right.
And I find that when they're in this fatigue state as well, other things start to slip, like you're saying. So it's not just the food. It's more so like I just can't go. I'm so tired. Like, so now my
Mhm.
friendships or my relationship is kind of starting to
Mhm.
slip. My work is starting
Oh,
to
yeah.
be impacted. And I'm like, but your job essentially allows you to go to the gym, like at the end of the day, right?
Mhm.
Because job pays for gym. If you don't have a home gym, I mean, even then, job pays for gym. But it's like, so now you're taking away your productivity at work and you're not recognizing like you're just so drained.
Right.
And it's impacting all areas,
All
not just
areas.
like your workout. Like if you're walking into the gym every day and going like, oh, okay, and finding that like deep down push through, there's your sign too
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
like even walking into the gym. How do you feel?
Right. Well, and also walking out, like, do I feel like I'm in a vomit?
Yeah.
Like, that's not a good sign, you guys. Like,
Uh-uh.
your workout should not make you feel sick. You should feel like I can go. You said this.
I tell my clients, you should be able to go to
Go to
brunch,
brunch. Yeah.
and feel great at brunch.
Yeah, you should feel great after your workout. And there is no reason for you to feel like you're going to get sick. There's no reason to feel like you can't stand up. There's no reason to feel like you're going to pass out. Like, that is not healthy. That's not healthy by any means. And all of those things, ultimately are going to affect, again, your hormones, which that then affects your sleep.
Yep.
Right. So you will be tired all day, but then tired and wired at night.
Uh-huh.
So you're not getting sleep. So now we're doing this thing where we're not sleeping. We're not recovering. Sleep, we've talked about this before, by itself can ruin our hormonal balance. Then we, because we have to do it, we wake up on 4 hours of sleep and go work out again.
Right.
And again, think about this. Your cup is already empty. Now what are we doing?
Making it more.
It's like your oil tank. Eventually your engine's going to blow up. Right. And that brings us to the point of always getting injured.
Right.
So,
oh yeah. That's if you find like, so if it's one thing after another, if you're getting injured and seeing physical therapist or chiropractor or anything, at some point, hopefully that provider, if you're not working with a personal trainer either, starts to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit. And it's very hard though, coming from a place that this was me, to hear that provider without feeling like, 1, you don't understand, 2, you're judging me, and 3, this is just like my lifestyle, without getting that defensive.
It can be seen as healthy. How many times to be like, oh, I wish I could go to the gym 7 times a day like you. I wish I could, people glorify it.
Yes.
And it gives you, as we talked about, that better than feeling like I can do this. Other people can't. It's like, babe, it's not serving you. So get off your fucking high horse.
Well, and again,
I was on a high horse at one point.
Yes. Well, same. I was too. I was very like, well, yeah, I mean, you could like when someone would be like, oh, I wish I could go to the gym every day like you, and be like, well, you could, you just don't fucking have it or whatever. Like there was always well, you're just kind of a wuss or whatever. But
let me see if you just made me think of something. So I just thought of this. So back in the day, I would go to F45 in the morning, or I'm sorry, in the evening. And then my friend Melissa and I would go lift in the morning. And Melissa was only lifting. She did CrossFit a couple times a week and then would come lift with me. And she was so fucking strong. And I'm like, I don't understand. You said this earlier. I didn't put the connection to it until right now. Like, I don't understand. I work out all the time. How is she so much stronger than me?
She's not even doing half of it.
Yes. And now it's like, oh, that's why.
Yeah.
I know that, from coaching, but I didn't actually think about that moment in time until now. Cause I was like, why am I so much weaker than her? I don't know. Anyway,
I completely.
So, your sleep is off. You're getting injured or
you're fatigued.
Yeah. Well, and think about it, guys. If I'm constantly running myself into the ground, I'm not sleeping well. We talked about mental clarity. Like, there is a mind muscle connection.
Yeah.
And if I'm just, in la la land because I'm just pushing through because I have to check off the box to train, I put myself in a position to potentially get injured because my form is compromised.
Right. Because I don't have the mental energy to pay attention to my form because I'm doing it. I'm here. And I think the other thing too with overtraining is that it's not necessarily going to the gym every day, but it's making you do the same rep or more or same sets or reps or more than each time. So what I mean by that is, so say this week I squatted 155 for 8. Next week, my expectation is either I go to 165 for 8 or I need to go 155 to 160 for 10.
Right.
Instead of maybe next week is just not a good week. I had a horrible day. I slept like crap. And I go in and say, like, I just need to do 135 and kind of just do 8 and really feel the flow of the movement.
Right.
So each time I'm pushing the edge. So then I'm not paying attention to, like, does my body actually feel good doing this? And then I have less energy to focus on my form. So now I'm going to increase my chances of getting injured.
Right. It's that's a good point, is not only are we like pushing through, but we have this progressive overload expectation on ourselves. You're not going to have a personal best every workout.
No.
I got stuck in my squat for probably a year.
Yeah.
I just could not push past a certain point. And even now, like, I know my squat is not my best lift. So it's really, how do I look at progressive overload in a squat that's kind of I plateau very easily is, do I feel stronger? Because I get a little bit of a tweak in my back. Like, do I feel my core really activated? Because I know the reps and sets will be relatively the same for a long amount of time. But I think that's important to note. Like, you're not going to have personal bests. And then you think, oh, I need to do more so that I can hit these personal bests.
Yes.
On top of just getting hurt all the time, you're also super irritable.
Yeah. Pissy.
Yeah. Because remember, cup, your mental and your emotional cup is depleted.
Yeah.
Okay. What do I mean by cups? I guess I should explain that. So we always think of energy just as physical. It's not. The same energy that it takes you to have emotional boundaries so you don't scream at everyone, the same energy it takes you to, create a, Google document on your, P&L, the same energy it takes you to feel connected to your higher power. It's all the same energy it connects you to not letting your shame spiral. That all comes from the same energy cup. It's not I don't know where people think it comes from.
Well, I think they compartmentalize. Right. Because it's easy to say, so going back to some of our other topics of like toxic resilience, right? Like, I've got work and I'm thriving. It's my home life that's the issue. And it's like, or they're kind of mixed, right? And so that's where I think it comes from, is like, working out could not be affecting my mood. And it's like, directly, no, but indirectly, as far as if we think of cups and energy and availability, yes,
absolutely. If all of your other cups were full, then no, it wouldn't be affecting your mood. But that's the thing, as we're saying, is the avatar, the person that normally is overtraining is most likely, unless they're a professional athlete, filling up those other cups, or they've done some really amazing work.
Even the professional athletes, I mean, you look at their injury rates, so you could say, well, they're in a high stakes sport and they're in professional. But I mean, if they're not taking care, I mean, what is LeBron? I mean, LeBron James and what's his face, Tom Brady, the amount of money they spend on recovery.
Oh, and Patrick Mahomes, I watched the quarterback, and that's mobility is a huge
all
part.
of that. So it's like, okay, you got to remember, and you can now discount, say, well, these guys are professional athletes. Of course they have to do that. Right. But you're treating yourself like you are a professional worker outer.
Right.
And so like, if you're going to do this,
You should
then
make shirts that say that.
I am a professional worker
outer.
So, but if you're going to do this, you got to remember, like, okay, that's part of the plan too. Is so for me nowadays, like, I make sure that I practice my mobility. I make sure that I get massages. I make sure that if something happens, I go to like my bodywork chiropractor girl. So it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing the same. I'm just doing it on a different level, but that's because I want to make sure I can continue to work out without these injuries or without being stopped by something I can control.
Or without feeling like a psychopath.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that is, especially a majority of our followers are anywhere over 30, right? And
oh, I thought of another one.
Yeah, it's as we get older. I mean, I'm 41. You're mid 30. Yeah, I was gonna say 35.
At 33.
Well, I make her older because she is more mature than me.
Yeah, I'm like 80 though.
Yeah, you're 80. I'm 21. I've already established that. So, you already have hormonal changes.
Yes.
You have your own stressors, right? And you have partners and just relationships that are meaningful to you. And now you're doing this thing that's making that, that kind of irritability even worse.
Yeah.
I mean, we have periods. Let's just talk about that. You're going to be irritable then. And now it's all the time.
Right.
You're
missing your period.
Oh, there you go.
So I thought of that one,
Yes.
missing your period. Like if you haven't gotten your period and you're not on birth control, there is a very big, I'm going to say like a black flag.
Oh,
so I usually have pink flags, red flags, but then we got black flags. That is something that is not okay.
Yeah.
Because your fertility cycle, so that's what your period is. It's an indication of your fertility. And whether you want to have kids or not, fine. But that's an indication of how your hormones are doing. And if your hormones are not working, that's the first thing that goes because your body doesn't have the energy. It says it's not safe to create pregnancy or to have a period or to conceive, whatever you want to.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then one thing I wanted to add is like going into the relationship part of it and the irritability. If you're finding yourself constantly manipulating your day or your social events to make sure you hit the gym or get the workout in or the run in, that's probably a flag too.
Oh yeah. No, I agree with that. I remember.
Excuse me.
You know what's funny? This isn't kind of off topic, but on topic. I would see people like go to a happy hour and then go to the gym. And I'd be like, what
are we doing?
And Mark will do that. He'll go to he'll just have a beer or two and then go to the gym. I just find that so odd.
I've done that once that I can recall. Of like, we went out to dinner, had some drinks, and then we got home early. And the reason why I went and worked out was I just felt like so, like we overate and overdrank, right? And I just kind of felt like, so like, I just need to move. At the time, what would have been the better solution was to go for a walk.
Yeah.
Instead of lifting.
Yeah.
But at the time that happens.
Anyway, so yeah, I always found that so weird. I remember being younger and I went to happy hour with some friends and the one guy's friend came and he's like, he had like 5 drinks and he's like, I'm gonna go to the gym now. Like, why?
That there is no benefit.
Seems so odd to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, no, you're right. There's missed period is a big black flag that is huge. Again, if you're not on birth control, the irritability, being short, being, feel and the irritability with yourself.
Yeah.
Now we're irritable with ourselves, which is only going to remember that emotional energy cup is down. Our emotional boundaries are down. And that only sets you up for criticizing yourself for those self-defeating beliefs.
Yes. It's harder to see the positives that you're making or changing or doing at that point, because now you're not seeing the physical change you're like constantly striving for.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the biggest thing is you're not seeing results.
Yes.
You're not seeing results. You think that you're going to look X way. You don't, right? And we talked about on social media, maybe you're following someone else's plan that requires you to work out, 7 days a week. And you're just like, I don't understand, because it's not just exercise. Another thing too, which we didn't have on our notes here, is exercise, a lot of people believe it elicits fat loss, right?
Sorry.
So they're like, I don't get it. And I'm like, well, how's your diet?
Shit.
Yeah. They're like, well, I don't really pay attention to that because
Right.
I'm working out all
Yeah,
day. It's like,
yeah.
no, babe. The way you lose body fat is through a caloric deficit.
Right.
The way you build lean mass is through strength training and eating adequate protein. You only burn about 5 to 10% of your total daily energy in your planned exercise.
I think that's really important to emphasize because I was thinking about that when you were talking about the NEAT
Mhm.
is the misconception that people like, I think it's Precision Nutrition that has that graph.
Mhm.
So there's probably every place has the graph. Now some too, is that of like this amount is your NEAT, this amount is your TEF, this amount, this little amount is your exercise.
Right.
And for those who are not watching on YouTube, it's literally
I'll put it into
like a pinky of your whole body.
Yeah.
That's how I would equate it.
So about 60 to 70% of your total daily energy is burned at rest.
Chilling.
At rest. Chilling. Without movement.
Mm-hmm.
I need you all to understand that. About 20% is burned in your NEAT, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis.
So the dishes.
Yeah. The dishes.
Going for a walk
walking
to
the
car.
bathroom,
Going
petting
up
your
the
dog.
stairs.
Exactly. Because if you think about, unless you're literally sitting all day long, you're moving around, you're doing different things. I mean, being Italian and working with my hands, maybe that's why I'm so fit.
That's why we got the biceps.
I'm like, yeah. If you're watching this, you're welcome. If you're not, you have no idea what's going on. Your the thermic effect of food, so your body burns energy, like breaking down food is about 5 to 10%, and your planned exercise is 5 to 10%. Like you have to understand that.
Yeah.
That is not made up. That is literal, like
science.
It's science, right? Science. And that's really important to know. It's like, oh, the rest part is so necessary. And let's just talk about how we see results, right? So now we're not seeing results. The exercise, let's just talk about strength training. The exercise of strength training, the magic happens when?
In the rest.
In the rest. It happens in the rest, not only in the rest period, but in the rest afterwards.
Yes.
Right?
By rest period, you mean during the sets, during the move, like the actual session. Okay.
We need to give our bodies energy producing system a chance to reproduce that energy. And depending on how intense the workout is, or the movement, that last movement was, we need to have, 2 minutes, 3 minutes time for our ATP to be replenished, which is a whole system of
ATP is your energy.
Yeah. We're not Bill Nye.
We're not that
So, well, I remember I getting my certifications and stuff, like really understanding it, how it works, you know, and your ATP, depending on like how intense the movement is, compared to how long the movement is, it's going to vary, right, on what you need. And so that's in the actual workout itself. But then outside of it, this muscle doesn't build just from set to set.
Right.
It turns over through rest. And also, I've talked about this before, in a parasympathetic state. Our bodies are anabolic in a parasympathetic state, meaning we've got to chill, we've got to rest, we've got to bring our heart rate down, we've got to calm down, and our bodies will do all the magic in the rest period and in your rest outside of the workout itself.
Yes.
And that's what's ultimately going to build the lean mass. Now, again, the nutrition piece is not something we're talking about today, but that is so important. Well, let's touch on that. I
think it's important.
Right. So here's the thing. We talked about, so let's go back to us. If I was doing those 2 back-to-back F45 workouts because I had to, not because I thought it was a good idea, or I don't know, I'm training for a marathon, or my friend, he would do the dry try for Orange Theory. It was like a goal for him.
Oh my God.
That he did 2 in a row one day. Because he had friends at this one.
That's like people who do Murph twice on Memorial Day or whatever.
And I'm like, okay, I asked him, I go, well, how are you going to replenish your energy? He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is a 90-minute thing you're doing twice.
Oh my God.
How much have you been eating this week? Like, are you preparing your carbohydrates and your glucose? Like, and then what are you going to do for like intermittent carb? What is it called?
Yeah. Whatever your intermittent eating carbies.
Right. So
you're eating, how are you going to eat throughout the
workout?
Yeah. How are you going to eat during the workout?
We know what we're talking about. So he's like, wait, what? So I gave him things. I'm like, you need to have something.
God.
Yeah.
And test it before too, because it's like the runners who don't test the, like the little, like the pouches, and then they end up, because they haven't found.
I need to turn off my, I'm getting blown up here. Let's do.
How do you have, well, I'll have to ask you.
Do not disturb. Till this evening.
Yeah, it's like the people who don't figure that all out before, and then they just go into it cold turkey.
Right.
Like, okay.
If you, for whatever reason, are like, no, Christina, I'm going to work out 6 days a week. That's what I'm going to do. Then your ass better be eating a shit ton of calories.
I would say at least 2,000.
If not more.
Yeah. Bare minute, which a lot of people would be like, 2,000? It's
Yes.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I guarantee you, number one, you need to pull back.
Yes.
You need to pull back. We're not telling you to do that. But if you're adamant and you're like, no, I'm not listening to you. You don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, cool, that's fine. You better be eating.
Yeah.
I would even say 3,000 calories if you're a woman, 3,000, 4,000 if you're a man, because you're not going to get the results you want unless you're feeding yourself per the amount of exercise that you're doing. You know, I think about a client, I love her dearly, but she really struggles. She struggles with an eating disorder. We've really been trying to help her with teaching her how to get strong. She was doing really well. And then the eating disorder took over.
Yeah.
I have a doctor overseeing her. The doctor still approved her to continue, but I'm like, I can't keep going. You're not, you're not feeding yourself for the amount of movement. And I pulled the movement back, but even then she's going to add to it, and, for this, even looking at her strength, she was so strong when we started and when she was feeding herself well. And even that's kind of dwindling down. It makes me so sad. Well, nutrition is so important.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the frustrating things as a coach, especially there's a client that I'm thinking of in particular, is they try and negotiate. Like, well, it's not really like how you think it is. I'm, as the coach, misunderstanding the movement or the exercise routine or the classes that they're including. And it's like, you might be right, but more likely than not, I was doing what you were doing, and I know you're not right.
Right.
And it's not, I shouldn't say that they're wrong, but I know how you're thinking, and it's not helping your situation. And it's a very, very hard to say, like, okay, you hired me to help work through this. I understand what I'm asking you to do is very challenging. I understand telling you to do this program that is not as much volume as you're used to, whether that's days per week or even just exercises per session. I understand that's hard. I do. I cannot emphasize that enough, because I was there and I still sometimes am there. Like, to be truly honest, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I'd like to do more, but why? I already know how this plays out. But then when they start trying to negotiate, like, okay, so I've got my 3 to 4 days of working out, and now I kind of like these classes, but I would like to do the classes because of this reason and this and this. And it's like, then you need to pull back a strength training day. Right. I'm totally okay with you doing the classes, but then we have to pull back somewhere else.
And then we have to
I don't want to do that. It's not really what you think it is. I don't really move.
I don't care.
And thank you. And I'm like, I can get you the results, but you're doing the same thing that you hired me to do. And you're trying to negotiate with me for what you're going to end up doing. Right. So, okay.
Right. You just spent money on you wanting to do the same shit.
On you wanting me to mirror or echo or
agree with you.
Right. And I don't, and I don't, but then you're trying to negotiate with me. So I do, but this isn't like a contract where you negotiate. This is, hey, this is the advice. This is what I'd recommend. You can follow this blindly, or you can keep doing what you're doing and keep in the circle and then wonder why you're
Right.
still not happy.
Right. You bring up a good point too. I think about a client who we have pulled back, and she went on vacation, and she had a really hard time because she wasn't working out. But the beautiful thing is, through the mindset method, she was able to realize how strong that feeling was. And she came back and we talked about it. She was able to work through the discomfort. She said, I did get up and kind of walk around, but she saw that kind of distortion in her movement. She was able to come back, be honest with me. And again, now we have a good plan of attack, so much so that she is going down to 3 days a week of training, because she's the one I talked about. She had her cortisol tested when we started, cortisol tested now.
Oh, and it was still high. So you're like, holy cow.
So, it was higher the first test. Now it's high. Now I just want to get it to a more optimal level. And, she has that wherewithal to say, this is hard. This is uncomfortable.
It's really hard. And it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I know that. You know that.
Oh, yeah. I love that we can acknowledge that discomfort.
Yeah.
I will say, guys, there's a point, though, where like for me, and again, I'm repeating this from another episode, like waking up and being like, I don't have to work out today. It's kind of a good feeling sometimes. Like, I didn't have to work out this morning. I wanted to go for a walk, but I'm working on some stuff for my best friend's wedding. So I just kind of stood up and did it instead of sat down just to be a little bit more active. Maybe I'll go on a walk later today. But I wasn't, stressed because, I also need to do a workout today. And I've got this nail appointment and I've got to do this thing.
Right. And Amanda's coming over.
And Amanda's coming at 11 and, blah, blah, blah. So there is a point though, if you, trust in the process, number one, if you trust in the process. So let's talk about the process, pulling back, figuring out the minimum amount of effort for the results that you want.
Yes.
Right. Because if we can start at the minimums, we can move up if need be. Right. So if 3 days a week of well-phased strength training with adequate rest, maybe some mobility and obviously rest in between gives you the results you want, meaning say it gets you to 90%. Right. Of the results that you want. Then hold on. I thought I had to burp. It's like stuck.
Oh, I hate that. Where you're like,
there it is. Oh, got it. Oh, girl, that was a tame burp. I can get crazy. Anyway, you can cut that, Ira. Anyway, so if we can do 3 days a week and get you to 90%, say you go on a trip. Then maybe we bring it up a day, or maybe we add more steps, or maybe I give you some interval, like 10-minute interval runs. That's going to be amazing for you because even then
you have room to move.
Yes.
Like move like the needle, not so much movement, but when you're already at 6 or 7 days, you don't got much more.
Right.
There isn't.
There's no room.
Yeah.
And you probably don't want there to be any more room because let's face it, you're probably thinking to yourself, you really like working out 6 to 7 days a week, but you don't. Well, we know you don't because we've been there. And stop fooling yourself.
Is for, I think the person who's not going to hire a coach on this part, I think the most important thing that you can do is hire a coach.
Absolutely.
Who has not us ideally, but who has been in this position. Right. Because if you don't understand, like you are going to either say, you don't understand, this is how it is, like, wearing my fitness as on my sleeve, or vice versa. They're going to say, oh shit, it just slipped my mind.
I was thinking you're going to hire the coach that's you, and you're only going to keep yourself.
You're going to hire the coaches. Yeah. And so you have to hire the coach that is different. And it doesn't, but if you're not, let's say you do work out 6 to 7, let's say 7, because most of the time, if you're working out 6, you're going to work out the 7. If you're working out 7 days a week, I would challenge you, just start by going to 6. If you're going to do this on your own. And then I would realize on that 7th day, you didn't die. It felt nice to sleep in. It was okay. Nothing happened. The world did not burn down because you end up thinking it's so silly that you feel this way, but that's just how I just have to. I just have to. But there's like this little minion in your head that is telling you it's okay, but you're shutting it down. And so you literally, like for me, I literally had to say like, I didn't die because I felt like if I didn't work out, I was going to die. Like I'd catastrophize. And so I would say, just go to 6 days. Okay. Can we go to 5?
Yep.
Great. And if 5 is really uncomfortable, I think the second important part is you have to sit in the feeling of it. So like similar to the client you were explaining before, sat in the feeling, realized like, okay, this is something like that's there.
Yeah.
I thought I had it under control. Everything was good. And again, something pops up in the 3rd or 4th or 6th month of coaching with us.
Right.
And there it is.
There it is.
It's not as tamed as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's sitting in that, recognizing it. Don't just be like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I should go to the gym, and go to the gym.
Right.
Just even set a timer for 5 minutes.
Well, and let's just identify the discomfort. Why are you so afraid of staying still? Have we ever thought about that? Because we're not getting that high.
Yes.
Right. And we have to sit with ourselves. Our feelings come. And we've maybe never done that and we don't like it. Right. So maybe, I don't know, just maybe that's the shit. That's the working in instead of working out that you need to do.
And then some of the time, the question that I get too is, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, what do I do with that time now? Because instead of, well, you can sit in it. But then honestly, I'm like, more likely than not, there's something you need to work on.
Right.
And
I was going to say, what's the unmet need in that moment?
So, i.e., maybe schedule therapy or maybe start journaling.
Right.
Or maybe start going for a walk and using a meditation. Or like if you're, say, like for me, what really helped was where do I see my career going? And is there something like educational I can do? So is there something like you need to get continuing education? There's something you really want to learn. Like, is there a course that we can do instead?
Well, and I just think if it's that strong of a discomfort, it has nothing to do with the exercise.
Yes.
It's what the exercise is avoiding, hiding, keeping you from, and figuring out what that need is, and then learning ways to meet that need. And obviously that's not something you can easily do on your own. That's why our program exists, because people oftentimes walk in thinking that X and Y are their problem, because, they can't lose weight, they're not seeing results, but it's all of these other things. It's ABC, down to whatever's before X.
Right.
So
I think that
the other thing you could do, so that's really important, you guys, is understanding, why can I sit? Why can't I be still? Why do I have relaxation remorse? What is exercise in this intense capacity hiding from me or numbing for me? If you want to hear a example of this, on my Instagram, I have a snippet from my work with Rachel, who was a gal that the guys from Mind Pump had connected me with to work with her. And she talks about how, she has significant trauma in her life, and exercise was the one thing she could do and she could control. And it was socially accepted, but it got so strong that for her, now I know this working with her, the exercise was the only time she felt anything. She was so numb. She did not know her emotional reality, that she just thought that's happiness. Because I've never experienced it on my own, because everything in my life has been determined for me. Right. She talks about her experience with it. She talks about her experiencing working with us and getting out of it. And now she's in an amazing place. She works out maybe 2-3 times a week, walks. She's eating really well, Now, her journey, it opened her up to other things. So now she has the ability to work on that, But that's on our Instagram, or you can find it on Mind Pump. I'll link the episode here. But, that's the most important part, is what is underneath this. We have other things listed here.
Well, I think one thing that I wanted to go back to is talking about the other prior client that you were referencing, is where she found kind of this like, oh, this is a little distortion, is she found it during vacation, i.e. a deload week or a week off. And that's another part that I think, if you haven't taken one, if you can't remember the last time you took one, you need one.
Right.
If you are transitioning to a new program, you need one. Like, that is the perfect opportunity to see, like, I'm committing to not working out for 1 week. It's structured. It's from Sunday to Sunday or Monday,
Mhm.
whatever days it is.
Mhm.
And that week is going to reveal a lot too.
Oh, yeah. It's funny. I oftentimes don't, and this is something in my coaching I'm working on, like express this is a deload because normally it happens naturally.
Yeah.
Where it's a vacation or they're sick or whatever. But what I need to do is say, this is a natural deload we're taking. If we don't have a natural deload, we're going to create a actual deload.
I will create, if there isn't a natural deload, I create the deload.
Right. I do that too, but for them, it might be like, well, why do I have a deload now?
Right.
Well, you did have one here. I don't express that well, which is something, because my client, she's going through fertility treatment right now, and we're going to deload this week. She's like, I've never done a deload. And I was like, well, we did one, but I didn't want to go back and like explain
and
to her.
A deload can happen every 4 to 12 weeks even. And so like sometimes I'll get a client who asks like, why do I need a deload? I feel great. I'm ready to go into the next program. Like, because you just worked out for 12 weeks, i.e. 3 months. You're about to work out for another 3 months straight.
Right.
Like, so you're going to work out for 6 months straight. And then when I put it in this bigger block, they're like, oh, that is a lot. Like, yeah. I get it right now. You feel great.
Right.
But I mean, in 4 weeks, you may have needed it. And we can take one in 4 weeks, or we could just take one now.
Well, and she was like, well, I'm going to go on vacation with my family next week. Can I do it then? I'm like, sure. But then we still pulled back on her movements. I gave her more like a slow and control during the fertility stuff, making sure she's not on her belly, making sure there's no pressure on her abdomen. It's been tough, but she's wonderful because she also struggled with an eating disorder herself and has really done a lot of good work on this.
Yay.
And there's still struggles, gaining enough fat on her body.
It's hard.
And deliberately trying to gain fat when you need to gain fat.
Yeah.
But she's wonderful because she's one of those clients that say, hey, you did this. I prefer this. She's not saying I want it this way.
Yeah.
It's kind of this negotiation of, I see that you gave me this move. I don't know. It's different than the client who's like micromanaging.
Yeah.
She's just really self-aware, but then also takes the challenge.
Yeah. Like if you gave me front squats, but it really hurts my wrist, I'm going to do back squats.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's even more than that. Just, when we were trying to get her calories up enough, because obviously we need to gain fat, like she really kind of works with me on her, how far we can push her.
Yeah.
She'll take the challenge. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I appreciate. Right.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're like, okay, we'll bump up by 100. And it's like, but they're not hitting it. They're hitting it by 50. And it's like, well, there's a reason I went to 100 and I told you that, and you said, okay, but is there a reason why we're not actually implementing it?
Yeah. She'll be like, I think I can do 50. I'm like,
which is fine.
Great.
But
no, deloads are really important. Again, do you want to explain that more, like what a deload is?
Oh yeah, sure. So deload, most of the time for my clients, I say, just don't do anything. Like go for a walk, do some mobility. If you want to go to a yoga class, go to a yoga class. But other than that, we don't really need to be going to the gym. If they want to go to the gym, then I'm like, we do lighter weight, we work on form, we're just kind of tapping the metal. We're not really doing too much.
I would cut your weights in at least by half, if not more than that, 20 to 50%, just giving your body a chance to rest, giving your nervous system a chance to rest. And you'll be so surprised when you get back to lifting. You're like, I'm so strong. Like it's the best. I love it. I love it. Seen. So other than that, obviously rest is so important. Sleep, rest, taking days off, giving yourself, again, just like a deload of rest day is a mini deload. Like you are just walking, you're working on, your inward work. Right. Maybe we are, again, even just doing like a sauna or a cold plunge, meditation, whatever that is, you are focusing on your whole health rather than just burning calories. That ultimately is going to help with the things we talked about. You're going to feel more energized. You're going to sleep better. You are going to see better results. I take 3 rest days. I've only trained 4 days a week.
Yeah, I'm at 4 right now.
Yeah, 4 days a week, 3 rest days. On those rest days, I'm not doing more steps.
No.
I do my 10,000 steps. Sometimes I'll walk on my Delio, what is it called? Walking pad.
Walking pad.
And I'll have a bit more but it's so slow because I'm typing.
Yeah.
But my average for the week is usually 10,000 and I'm not doing anything else. I'm just using that time for me or for Mark and I to have extra time together in the morning.
That's one thing. So even with myself last year, so I had a step goal of 10,000 per day. And so what actually ended up happening is old me was starting to come out of like trying to get the 10. So I would be gone, not a lot from the house, but I mean, it's a decent chunk of time to get 10,000 steps in a day if you're not like doing the treadmill under the desk. And Michael actually came up to me and was like, "Hey, you're walking a lot." Like, and he him. He's like, if you really want to, that's great. But he's like, but sometimes it would be nice if instead of you went for a walk, we hung out. And I was like, oh shit. Like, because he is very good about letting me put fitness in a certain category, like when we travel or like even at home. And for him to say that was like, all right, I just need to change my goal.
Yeah.
Because for me, if I set the goal, I will try and get 10. Right.
Yeah.
So like similar to, the overtraining client, if you set the goal to go every day of the week, you're probably going to go. And that was what I would do. I have to go every day of the week and I have to at least do X, Y, Z. And so then that started coming up again there. And now walking, the overtrainer currently could be like, well, walking is like, da, 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 da.
And it's like walking. People shit on walking. Yeah.
But you have to realize like this overtraining kind of thought or cloud can still pop up in other ways too. And so you need to be aware of that. Is that my overtraining brain? And is there something else going on that I'm uncomfortable with, that I'm trying to avoid, that I'm starting to creep back to that habit? Or am I just not recognizing it because I set a goal that was a little bit too far?
Right.
And I can easily pull that back. Like the 2,000 steps a day that I'm not getting is fine.
Right. That's a good point. Is it can also bleed into like, so say I start pulling back, but now my steps are 16,000, right? I see that happen.
The negotiation.
I'm not working out as much, so I don't want to eat as much. And, you all don't realize, especially women who are over 30, how many calories you need to fill those cups up, right? To do it the right way. And when we're calculating averages in regards to your daily caloric intake, we're looking at the entire week. We're looking at the amount of workouts you do, but also your steps. We're looking at your age. We're looking at so many different variables, but people think that, oh, well, I didn't work out today, so I'm going to eat less today. It's like, that's not how it works.
That's not at all.
So I would definitely figure out the amount of calories you need for the amount of movement you're doing. Oftentimes it's going to be way more than you think. Plus, again, if you think about, I'm pushing myself in the ground 7 days a week. I'm not eating enough. We're expending a shit ton of energy. We're not filling it back up. And that's why, the fatigue, the lack of sleep, the injury, all of that is happening.
Yeah.
So if you want to feel amazing, think about this. If I feel amazing, if I'm revving on all engines, then
all my engines are revving. Anyway,
I'm running on all cylinders.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. Got it. I'm not running on all cylinders. You know what I mean? So if I'm, working from a place where all my cups are full, I'll say it that way. I'm going to have the energy to do the workouts, to increase my NEAT. I'm going to have the energy to say, oh, maybe I need a meditation today. I'm going to have the energy to be like, oh, I'm feeling a little bit anxious.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the energy to say, I should eat an apple. I'm going to have more energy to make the choices I can be consistent with and see the changes I want. So long story short, we've really got to pull back, ladies and gentlemen. If you're listening, you need to pull back, find your minimum.
Yeah.
Find your floor. What do I know I can do and see the results, even if it's only 90% of the results? Because then when we get to that 10%, we've got that trip or whatever it is, we can push you up a little bit. We're not starting at the ceiling, because if we start at the ceiling, we don't know where to go. Plus, when we start at the ceiling, we have all of these other issues that happen, and those just make us feel like shit inside and out.
Yes.
So anything else?
No, I think we covered a lot there.
We did. So if you like our information, give us a follow. I am on Instagram, Mindset of Matter Coaching.
I'm fit by Amanda _AZ.
We're also on YouTube where you can find these recordings live. Not live. Recorded. You don't want to see us live. I mean, we're getting better, but if you hear that psycho dog in the background, she's having a hard day today. The Mindset of Matter, as well as the Mindset of Matter on TikTok. If you're thinking, you know what, I really like these chicks. They're the coolest coaches I've ever met. Yeah. I've never heard anyone talk like them. And you want us to actually coach you because we're the coaches. We've got another gal. She'll be on here soon.
Oh, she?
Hopefully.
I know. We need to tell her.
Well, I told her. And she's like, I will.
Okay. Come on.
In the show notes, you'll find a link to our clarity call. That is how we get you on the phone to understand your needs and if the mindset method is appropriate for you, because I'll let you know, y'all, it's not appropriate for everyone. And just remember,
what you say in the mind,
you see in the mirror.
Oh,
goodbye.
I thought they were just to remember.